morning, everyone. I'm your host, comedian, magician, Danny Whitson. But it's all tricks aside, because tonight we're turning the paranormal into the normal. Join me as we explore the gray areas of reality. We're going to talk all things paranormal, UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, and aliens, and see how it's all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association, and we are live. So if you're an experiencer yourself, or you're just plain nosy, be sure to send me your question and subscribe to the podcast. Now, get ready, because it's going to get deep. No, really, we're going to go way out there, because this is Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. What's happening, my paranormal junkies, and welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, and I'm your host, comedian, magician, Danny Whitson, and we are broadcasting live from the E-United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Guys, we got a fantastic show lined up for you tonight, but first, I want to give a quick shout out to our guy, Ryan Stacy. He just released an awesome article. If you head over to the experiencersupport.org, you can check it out. It's got to do with the cyber attack battle that's going on with MUFON. So you definitely want to check that out. It's an update on that, and it's very interesting stuff. Also, if you have not done so, after the show, head over to Patreon, okay, at Heed the World on Patreon, and show us some love. Make a little $4 donation. It goes a long way. It helps out the podcast. All right, guys. I'm excited for this, and I hope you got your questions ready, too, because this is something that everybody is interested in, all right? Tonight, we're talking about dreams, yes, and tonight's guest is somebody who happens to be an expert in that field, okay? She is a dream interpreter with a passion of unraveling hidden meanings behind our subconsciousness, yes. Let's get a big welcome for Deedee Jebrail.
Hi.
Hey, Deedee, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. I tell you what, if you don't mind, do you care to introduce yourself a little more in depth for our viewers?
Sure. My name is Deedee Jebrail, and I've been interested in dreams since as long as I can remember. I've always remembered my dreams, had very vivid dreams, sometimes nightmares. And so it made me interested in trying to understand what it meant. It wasn't just a dream. It felt like an experience for me. And so when I was 18, I used to deliver papers to newsstands, and there was another delivery driver from another newspaper, and we used to talk dreams and interpret each other's dreams. And so that's where I knew I kind of had a gift for like understanding what other people's dreams meant. And I feel like people, they have dreams and they talk about it and they're very light about it, but it's such great information, life-changing information that can help us work through problems in our life, advance ourselves. I have so many examples of ways that it's helped me. So I just want to like kind of light a fire under everybody so that they can love dreams as much as I do and understand that there's something coming to them every night, giving them information. So that's what got me going.
So this is something you discovered when, I mean, basically you were a kid, you were 18 years old, and did you take like a course or anything? Is there something that you just figured out how to do?
It's something that just came naturally to me. And like I said, I was talking with somebody who was also into dream interpretation. So he's probably like mentored me because I remember only what I remember. So I think that he kind of taught me that I do know how to interpret dreams. And I would do it for friends and family through all the years. And I just, in the last couple of years, decided that I was going to do it for strangers. And I was doing it on my podcast, and people would send in their dreams and I would interpret that for them. And it was really coming together and it was helping people. And I thought, okay, well, then I'll go ahead and I'll, put up a website and kind of offer this as a service. And it just, once you start one thing, another thing opens and you just keep growing. So that's what I've been doing.
So, like the cool thing about this, everybody dreams. Now I know we dream every night. I don't remember my dreams every night though. I only remember the only certain ones, and I'll talk about it for a few days and then I forget.
Yeah.
But so yeah, but I'm sure somebody has tried to tell me some stuff before, but I just and it's crazy because it's something just crazy, that doesn't make any sense in the world to you. Why do you think we dream?
Well, there's a lot of different reasons why we dream. It's our mind is working out the events that went on throughout the day. So it could just be like, it might not be that you had a super eventful day, but you had like all these different emotions throughout the day of things going on. And so it's just your mind kind of like, putting everything in its box and like, closing that chapter and moving on. There's also, I believe, messages in dreams where there's something that's deeper, like maybe that month you had been looking for a job or something. There's little bits of information that you're getting in your dreams, maybe talking about how you didn't do well in an interview or something like that. And so if you're not like analyzing your dreams and writing them down every night, you might be missing the help that you're looking for. We always look and we, call someone else on the phone or look on the internet, but actually we have the answers inside us already because it's the truth. And I mean, our subconscious knows us like no one does, right? So the
That's
answers
true.
are there.
There's something really, when you bring up the subconscious, just like today, it's like when I leave the house, like I thought I'm forgetting something. I am forgetting something. And I up here, no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
But sure enough, when I got to where I needed to be, I realized, yes, I forgot that.
Yep.
It's like my subconscious was trying to tell me, hey,
Yep.
you left that on the counter. Um,
Yep.
and now I do know that is a theory. I think in science, what they believe is like when you do sleep, you dream, it is your brain trying to organize the chaos from what's important to remember.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer in we're all connected subconsciously somewhere. There's this other type of realm that exists that we connect to. And I think something else is going on other than just your brain organizing thoughts, and it's I don't know. I mean, do you think we'll ever figure out any more with it, or I mean, what's your take?
I think eventually they'll look into it more. I see more people being interested in it as time goes by. But like I've done a few dream studies and dream experiments for me that proves a more collective consciousness. I mean, there's precognitive dreams. There's I did a study with a doll that I have, and so I put the doll out there, and this doll I acquired it because it was causing nightmares for a woman who owned the doll with her son. And so I ended up adopting the doll through an episode on our podcast. And I actually had a nightmare about the doll as well. And so I decided to use the doll as the kind of like the starting point for everybody who was dreaming. And so what I did is I set her up with cameras in my office. And because I wanted to see, I had a theory about shadow figures being people who are dreaming, right? So I kind of want to test that theory too. So I set up 5 objects around the doll. No one knew about it except for myself and my husband, and we were running the cameras. And so everybody had to set the dream intention that they were going to talk with the doll and find out what the objects were. And so I had like 12 people in the study, and the people who wrote in, there was only one person who didn't seem to tap into it. Everybody tapped into it a little bit, but everybody got the color green. Not everybody, but a big amount of people got the color green. A lot of people had a weird experiment with the doll or experience. And then a couple of people described my room and walking through my house. And there's no way that they could have known. I have not done any tours of my house publicly for anyone, but somehow they described how my house was set up, which was really weird. And it turned out through the different people sending me their dreams that it came about that the doll was sitting next to a red car and she wanted it to be a green car. And a psychic read that that's exactly what it was. She was sitting next to a red car, wanted to be green. Several people got, there was one guy who had a dream that he was like at an auto shop and there was a red car that he was going to paint green. And he said, that's funny because I would never paint a car green, but I was compelled to paint the car green. And another gal had dreamt she saw green and then there was a little car sitting there. And so I gave Anime, my doll, a green car because so many people had tapped into it. I can't explain how they could have done that, because to me, that was very paranormal or collective consciousness or something.
Do you think they're you think that was maybe a form of kind of like remote viewing? You've heard.
Sure, it could be, but it was dreams that they had. So, because that was my thing, is I wanted the people to pick up. The experiment was to see if you could dream about it, And so,
I guess with remote viewing, you're conscious while you're awake while it's going on technically. But with this, you're
right.
And I when you really think about it, when you really think about dreaming, it's nuts. It's nuts what we do as human beings. Every day we close our eyes, we pass out, we lose just sense of reality, this world, and go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's cool.
It is really cool when you think about it. And it's like this is the only organ in our whole body that does this,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our heart pumps all night, our lungs work, everything else is still working, but the brain is like, okay, we're going to go somewhere else. It always makes you wonder, like, what is the real purpose of the mind, of the brain? Is there something that we are connecting to another realm, another world? Now you mentioned, which this is interesting, you mentioned shadow people, which, so, because sometimes people have seen those in their dreams, correct?
Oh yeah, that's pretty common.
And, and on this podcast a lot, we also hear a lot of, the sleep paralysis, when people, which, and this is, I always say this in every episode, especially when people talk about having any encounters with like, alien abductions or, the also very common demon sitting on my chest, And, a lot of science will say, well, it's just sleep paralysis. Nothing's going on. Well, not exactly. Maybe physically it's sleep paralysis, but something else is going on in the mind that these people all have these same experiences,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't write it off. I mean, because you can dismiss something physically, what's happening. Yeah. But, in the other side of things.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things like, okay, so science says it's sleep paralysis and it's a hallucination where you're projecting the dream into your room. Okay, so that's the scientific theory about it. But what if it's that we're having sleep paralysis because something does have a hold of us on another plane and that's causing us not to be able to move, but we're aware, because it's like, basically being asleep is being unaware. Unless you're lucid dreaming, you're not aware anymore. You're like in a different, you're using a different part of your brain. You're in a different space. But so I think that it could go either way. It depends on,
I totally agree. And I think you nailed it on the head. I mean, just because, that is, and don't get me wrong, I love science. I support science. I believe the scientific method, I support that, but it doesn't write other things off. And it's just, and to me, especially since doing this podcast, I've heard so many of the same encounters from people that it's hard to say that, no, it's, there's nothing to it, So
it's strange that it's the same hallucination for so many people.
And, here's the other thing, Deedee, is what people, the word hallucination. In reality, if you look around the room, technically your brain is hallucinating now. What your brain can't figure out, it makes up and it sticks it in there, by the way. So in case people don't know that, your brain, like the color blue doesn't even really exist. Your brain makes it up. So, I mean, so that's what's super interesting in what you do. Now, you mentioned lucid dreaming. I got to say this too. It's happened to me one time, and I never thought I could ever do this. And I just remember I was thinking about it, putting a lot of thought into it, and I had a lucid dream. And I just remember in my dream, I was doing something ridiculous because that's usually how dreams are for me,
Yeah.
And then I realized, I was like, well, wait a minute. No, you're dreaming. Oh, this is cool, and then I woke up. But shortly after that, I woke up. I couldn't stay there. But could you let us know, talk to us a little more about lucid dreaming?
Well, that's basically what it is that you become aware that you're in the dream state, and then you're able to, summon something that you want to summon into the dream. You're able to change the scenario. You can do whatever you want. A lot of people use the example if they decide to fly. I myself can't lucid dream. I've studied it and everything. It's every time, I'm just like you, every time I'm aware that I'm in a dream. And it's usually something weird, like I'll be someplace. And the last one I remember is that there was a cowboy saloon that was all pink. And I'm standing at a gas station and I'm like, what is that? That's weird. And then I was like, I'm dreaming. And then I woke up. I'm like, damn it.
I know I didn't get to keep it long, but I was like, gosh, so much I could have done right now,
Yeah. And people heal themselves. You can really problem solve. I don't think a lot of people claim to do lucid dreaming, but I think that they're more like daydreaming rather than actually waking up within a dream, because that's different as far as I'm concerned. There's daydreaming where you can create the whole scenario you want, and it's like a dream state or a meditative state. But true lucid dreaming is you're asleep and then you wake up within the dream and you're able to control it.
So you do believe it happens, but you don't believe it may be as common as what it appears to be?
Yeah, people might not like that, but that's what I think. I think that people do it, and those are the people that maybe are having healing and really getting, profound information and stuff. But I think most of the time it's more of a meditative daydreaming state that people are experiencing.
So so when you talk about healing and how important it is to write down your dreams and stuff, what are some of the benefits, maybe some experiences, some stories about people healing from their dreams?
Yeah, well, for me, I did a 20-day dream experiment where you have to write down your dreams for 20 days and you set an intention, what you want to accomplish, what you want to learn, what you want to accomplish. And so I had a problem with making choices. Like going shopping with me was a nightmare because I would always find two things to choose from. I don't know why that was. And it's because I was crippling myself not being able to make choices because I was afraid of making the wrong choice. So then I'm stuck, right? So I started working out that in my dreams. And at some point I went through the whole series of like figuring it out, having nightmares, coming out the other side, and I can make choices now. Okay. I could just put something in front of me. I choose. If I can't choose either one, I walk away because it means I don't want either, so it's that something that was so crippling to me is just, it flows now. I have no problem making decisions. And so if you're stuck with something in your life, you could just, and that's only 20 days. So I spent 50 years torturing myself and it only took 20 days to fix it. That's amazing. That's amazing what our brains can do.
Wow. I agree with you 100%. And it also kind of gives you another type of self-awareness. Like sometimes people don't realize what you're doing to yourself, until you can maybe step back and kind of analyze it. So what are some cases? Have you any cases you feel like, you want to share where you've helped people that's come to you with their dream interpretations?
Well, during another one of my studies, I had someone whose father had passed away, and she would have dreams of him often. And so she wanted to try to contact him in a dream. And so in the dream, she asked him to show her physical signs when she was awake. And she gave him the list. It was, I think, a feather, a stick, something else. And so when she went out to her car in the morning, you could see where someone took their finger and etched a cross in her windshield of her car. And later in the day, she found a feather and a stick on her porch. And it's like, what are the odds that all happened the next day? And so I thought that was fascinating. I've had other people, when I've done like dream interpretations for them as a client, I had someone who had a horrendous dream. Even like reading it was like, wow, this is a lot. And when we talked through it and worked it out, it literally, like, she had that big light bulb moment, and it was a huge relief for her because she realized what it all meant and was able to help herself with something that was going on in her life. So, I'm
a firm believer in that. Both my parents have passed, and actually, I've got a dream that I had. If you want to hear it,
sure.
I don't really understand it, but no, both my parents have passed, and I'm a firm believer that, your loved ones are still with you if you open your ears and eyes. You have to be, if you open up, you will see those signs. You will hear those things. They still communicate with you. I don't care. I'm telling you, It's real. I had this dream was so strange because, another thing, Deedee, like I said, I don't remember a lot of my dreams, but I did remember this one. And I remember for some reason, me and a childhood friend, we were grown, but we were we were trying to get to my old house that I grew up in, a house I grew up in. And it's almost like the world was like shut down. Everything was just done. And apocalyptic type atmosphere, you know. And I remember getting to my home, my childhood home, and because I just know I needed to get there. Well, I got there, and my mom was there, and it's like she was hiding out, you know. She was hiding behind the door. I remember trying to get through a door, and I couldn't get it open. She was hiding behind the door, and I remember, you know, just trying to take care of her and gather things. And I asked about my dad, and my dad had passed away. But here's the cringy, creepy part: is my dad's body was there on the couch. He had been gone, you know. And then shortly after I woke up, but I was just like, that was just a strange, what, you know, why did I dream that, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that, so the apocalypse, usually that means that there's something that is bothering you, and an apocalyptic, like whatever that represents, there was something going on. Going with your childhood friend back to your home where your mom was, is you're going back to that kind of like support or love or whatever you got at that point, you know, in your childhood, with where that house was that she lived in when you were a child. That is the kind of comfort you were looking for, or the kind of like knowledge to help you through the problem. The fact that your dad was there, but he was passed away. So whatever he was offering, you'd have to decide, what did he offer to you? Like mom, I'm assuming, is like love and comfort, you know, guidance. So whatever your father represents to you as he was alive is something that you weren't getting, that you needed for that apocalyptic feeling of whatever was going on in your life. So the apocalypse is something going on in your life. Whatever your dad offers, he couldn't because he was dead. So that's what you're missing, is whatever he offered you in life.
Wow. There we go. Okay. So there you go. She's good, y'all. There we go. And it's just crazy how those things, you know, like I said, I don't know why you drink, you know, why those things happen. That's just what's so wild about the subconscious part of your mind. Now, do you, a lot of people do though feel like they communicate with past people from past loved ones through dreams. And do you think this is, you know, something that's going on?
I think it's totally possible that that's going on. So you got to look at your dreams. And if you're having that kind of experience, write out what's happening, compare it. Are they actually coming in and helping you with something that's going on in your life? Does it line up with, you know, who they are? Are there, I always tell people, look for synchronicities when you're awake. So you had a dream, maybe your mom came to you and gave you some information. Are there synchronicities during the day where she's letting you know this was real, this happened? You know, I think that those are amazing. And I think it's something, whether when people pass away and they're in that collective conscious pool, and that's where they're coming to us from, you know, or if it's, you know, they're coming from a spiritual realm. Either way, I think they're there, you know, communicating with us and guiding us. And I think sometimes people's ancestors are their spirit guides.
Okay, I would love to talk to you more about that. The spirit guides is because, you know, I feel like, you know, my mom is always around me is what I feel like, you know, but I've heard other people mention stuff like that, spirit guides and, you know, ancestors from, you know, decades and, you know, way back, you know, and I love, but one thing that you did, Deedee, is like the example you talked about earlier about where you had somebody say, you know, well, ask your mother to do this or to do that, you know, to show you signs. And those things are real. They really, truly are. I mean, well, like I said, now, if she would have walked to her car or whatever and not even gave a moment's thought to look at this or that, you know, and she would have been clouded up in whatever her work schedule was or something, she would probably have never noticed that. So you have to keep your eyes and your ears open for this stuff, and you will see things.
Yeah, that's why it's important to remember your dream too, because it's the combination of setting the dream intention to communicate, writing down the dream, remembering it, and then being open to looking for the synchronicities.
I just wish I would have like one dream where I won the lottery. You know what I mean? That
Me too. Sometimes I get numbers, and trust me, I write them down.
But no, actually, there was a case of that. I did. I swear I heard a story. Yes, that wasn't that long ago. There was a guy that dreamed lottery numbers. He wrote them down. So if you guys watching this, hey, all right, he wrote them down and he played those numbers and he won. And I'm sure no one believed him, but there's something there, something going on.
Yeah, because they say that all time is happening at the same time. So did he tap into his future knowledge and know that those were the numbers?
That who knows? And they still, like I said, they have learned a lot, but they still don't know a lot. When it comes to that. So that's so interesting. Well, I do want to. I want to talk about some of the spirit guide stuff. That's something I definitely do want to talk about. I want to come back to that, but I do want to. What is the what is the craziest wild dream that you've had, Deedee?
Craziest dream that I've ever had? Oh boy, I have all kinds of crazy dreams. Wow. Oh my gosh. What's the craziest? I guess the most recent crazy dream is I had a dream that I was dead and I was buried underground and I was being exhumed. So it was really like a bad feeling throughout the whole dream because I was being exhumed. And I remember like feeling the light and the air, but I couldn't see. And I was like, I thought I was dead, but I'm not dead. And then I could like hear that there were people talking about me. And I'm like trying to cover my face because I'm thinking that my face is probably rotted and I didn't want people to see that. And so I've been making a transition in my life from one thing to another. And it was basically about starting again. And so I thought something was done. Maybe I was done, I was dead to things, and then I was being exhumed because, the universe was letting me know, no, you're not done. We're just changing, we're transitioning. But it was really creepy.
That's it. First of all, that sounds awful. But but at the same time, I've always, I don't know, if I think about my own funeral, I'll tell you what, if you come to my funeral and there's a guy in a gorilla costume, that means I faked my own death. Okay. If some guy in a gorilla costume shows up to my funeral, you're going to be like, that could be Danny. But that's crazy though. But you were able to interpret your own dream just for able to do that. And that's a pretty awesome skill. That way you don't wake up and you're just lost trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, and it's not as scary because I do tend to be on the nightmare side, unfortunately. So I have 50-50 nightmares versus pleasant dreams or just not scary. But I can wake up from a horrendous nightmare and be like, okay, what does that mean? And then write it out and be more interested than afraid. And because some people are very traumatized, somebody dies and they're like, oh my God, this person's going to die. And it's like, don't panic. It's a dream. It's letting you know something,
So there's a different type of meaning. It doesn't mean that, exactly you're going to die. Kind of like the tarot cards, kind of. So it all kind of has its meaning. Well, I'll tell you what, like I said, I want to talk to you more about the spirit guides. I definitely want to talk about nightmares, and I want to talk about night terror and some sleepwalking and some more paranormal. Okay. This is stuff I do want to dig into because I find all these topics interesting myself. But we're going to cut to a commercial break, Deedee. When we come back, we'll get into those topics.
Okay.
Have you ever wondered Or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today.
Business. It's your property. Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services. Go to blacklightiss.com.
All right, guys, we are back. And if you're just now tuning in, we've been talking to Deedee Jebrail about dreams. She's a very skilled dream interpreter. And so far, this has been a super interesting episode, Deedee. I tell you what, before we dig in, though, I do want to give a quick shout out over here. We got David Martin. Hey, David, man, thank you for tuning in, checking it out. We got Lisa. Lisa's back. Lisa was our guest from last week. Lisa is a very interesting person with some really cool stories. Yeah. And a big shout out to Christopher McLean. Thank you, man. Thank you for checking us out. If you guys have any questions for Deedee, shoot them up here. Anything about dreams, paranormal, shoot them up here, and she will answer them the best she can. Okay, so I definitely wanted to ask this because you said you're more of a nightmare person. You have a lot of nightmares, and some people it seems like they have a tendency. Why do you? First of all, why do you think some people have more nightmares than others?
Well, I think that it's two things. One is that I think that people who tend to remember their dreams more or work with it will remember more dreams. And so you're going to pick up on the nightmares. But I sadly, I have to say that I believe it's because you maybe have a more negative mindset. And so you will pick up on those kind of dream characters because they'll stand out to you more. That's my theory.
I mean, I don't have a whole lot of nightmares. Really, I don't. I mean, I've had weird dreams, but I don't have a lot. But I've heard some really terrifying things. Like my wife always talks about a nightmare she had with tornado of fire, you know, and it scared her to death. The one that she remembers, you know, and I don't seem to have many.
Yeah. Maybe because you're a comedian, so you tend to see the funny things, and so that's the way your mind will work with you, you know?
Maybe that's I look for the absurdness in everything. So it's maybe that's it. That could be it.
Yeah.
Now I did say this. I'll never forget this. I'd like to know what do you think is going on here. Is now I know the whole reason scientifically in the medical field, the reason why when we are in a deep sleep, our body is paralyzed because it is supposed to prevent us from acting out our dreams.
Right.
Now, but we do know there's a thing called sleepwalking. Oh
my gosh. Are you frozen? Because I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's frozen. Give us a second.
Okay. Like, I don't know if it's me. Well, sleep paralysis, I don't know if I'm frozen too, but I can tell you that I have a sleep paralysis story that I can share that's pretty interesting. So, I mean, sleep paralysis does happen with a lot of folks. So, and I myself have one experience with sleep paralysis that I will share. So hopefully you guys can hear me. I'll just go ahead and start sharing my story. When I was about 20, I had a dream that I was being chased by, and it's a minotaur, and it was making this horrendous noise, and it was chasing me, and it was probably the scariest dream I've ever had. And so I was running through a field away from this minotaur, and I woke up and I was running through my house. So I woke up running, like I transitioned from dreaming to being awake running. And I always like, some people might call that like a paranormal type of experience. Is definitely dream walking, sleepwalking. But so that does happen. And so I don't know, can you guys hear me on the side, or am I just talking?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, good. So I don't.
Danny's power went out, so
Oh, no.
it's gonna be you. It's gonna be you and me for a while.
Okay, that's fine. So I don't know, does anybody on the side have any dream questions, or has anybody had sleepwalking experiences? It's actually more common with children than is with adults, but I, in my entire life, have only had that one experience. So, and then David says he has had that experience before. So it depends. If you have it all the time, that's something that you should get, talk to your doctor about. If it's something that just happens every once in a while, it's just that the dream is so intense that sometimes you're able to act out. So being like there's sleep paralysis where you're aware and things are getting you. There's also where maybe your body's acting out, but you're still dreaming. So it can kind of go both ways. So let's see. Lisa said, I had terrible nightmares. They're gone now, which I'm thankful for. So Lisa, was there something that happened that made you work through those nightmares so that you didn't have them anymore? Because usually it's something that, and it could be a mindset. Were you very negative before and you kind of had an awakening where you're more positive? Because I noticed as I've gone through life, and I've been more into the spiritual realms and working on positivity, I do have less nightmares than I used to. So, and what else was he going to ask me about?
Sleepwalking. Because I'm I'm into there as well. My girlfriend sleepwalks all the time. So.
Oh.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm catching her all the time.
Yeah.
So what makes that happen?
That's actually, if it's happening all the time, that's something that needs, because it can be dangerous. People have walked outdoors into streets and all kinds of stuff. So that's something that needs, like that's a physical thing, a mental thing that's going on that needs to be addressed, because you should not be able, the whole reason that when like sleep paralysis is an example, the whole reason that when we're asleep is our body is supposed to basically be paralyzed so that we can't, because people will like hit other people that they're sleeping next to, get up. There's been people who have driven their cars. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on. So that's not a safe thing
No,
to have happen, because it will progress too as time goes by. So is she doing it all the time?
Not all the time. Usually when she has nightmares, she'll do it.
Okay.
She starts off with a nightmare,
Uh-huh.
and then it happens. Like I know it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then she'll have another nightmare.
So one thing she could do is start writing out the nightmares and trying to analyze, like hit it from that side.
She doesn't remember them.
She doesn't remember the dream, so she's having a nightmare and doesn't remember.
Right.
Ooh. And you're actually supposed to, like, if somebody's sleepwalking, you're not supposed to really try to wake them up. You're just supposed to follow them and guide them.
Yeah, I know. But when she's trying to go upstairs and, you know, you're trying to get her back down.
Wow.
It happens.
Yeah. I would still say that she should keep a dream journal, and you should keep, you guys together keep a journal of how often it's happening, what's going on during the day. You know, like, is there something that happened during the day that was upsetting that's causing this? Is it something, you know, more physical? You'll be able to kind of figure it out, because, you know, there's ways to work around that. When she goes to the doctor, if it's becoming a problem, she will have this journal to be able to say, this is when it's happening, and I can't find anything during the day that lines up with, you know, why I'm so stressed that I'm having a nightmare. But I bet you on the nights that this is happening, there's been something going on, something building up a stress level that's having her act out. Let's see. Valiant Thor. At work, random channel surfing, having a wonderful foodie truck lunch, and saving the world. Is that a dream, or he's just saying that?
I think he's just saying that. All right. Wow. So Lisa says, being a experiencer caused by nightmares with a lot of positive thinking helped them stop. It took a while though.
Oh, yeah. She was on last week, right? I was watching.
Yeah, yes, she was.
That was really interesting. I'd be curious to know what kind of dreams that she had during that time, because she was talking about, I'm not really versed on the extraterrestrials, but it was Nordic. Was it the Nordic ET that came in? And I feel like that those could possibly be like the ones that come in and are our spirit guides. They could be ones that are giving us information to help us in our lives, because the description of that sounded like kind of like that kind of spirit guide element. So I wonder, does she think, you know, because all the descriptions, it sounded like some were more medical, some were more just scary, and then that one just seemed like a spirit guide to me. So I wonder what her dreams transition, you know, during the time that's, you know, spirit or entity was visiting. I think that's fascinating.
Danny's back.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Temporarily. Okay, I'm on my phone. Sorry, guys. Yeah, something happened in my neighborhood, which has knocked the entire power out.
Oh, no.
Gosh, this is crazy. And here's the other bummer, is my phone is like on 19%. So, but I'm glad you can hear me. And back, and I so apologize, folks, for you guys watching. I'm sorry. I don't know. Maybe a squirrel got into a transformer. I don't know what's going on, but the whole neighborhood is out of power. And also, it's been, I'm in Tennessee. I mean, and it has been a massive heat wave. It's super, super hot. So I don't know if that may have had something to do with it too, but I do apologize. But I do want to try to get this, you know, as much as possible where we were at. I believe we were talking about nightmares, correct?
Yeah, because I already talked about the sleep paralysis.
Okay, well, the sleepwalking part is, the reason why I brought that up is, you know, like, I know, like, through in medical science, you know, your body does paralyze in its sleep to prevent you from acting out your dreams, doing crazy stuff. Even though that does happen, that still happens to people. You know, I've heard stories of people getting up and making sandwiches or eating weird things.
Oh, yeah. Driving cars. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I caught myself one time sleepwalking. As far as I know, it was the only time ever. But I was dreaming. I was trying to go out the front door, and I woke up, and I was trying my hardest to turn the doorknob, and I couldn't. And in my sleep, I couldn't. I was like, "This doorknob won't turn. Why?" And I woke up, and I was sitting there trying to turn. And I was like, "Oh my God!" So, but so what's your thoughts on that? Maybe like some of the night, and that's kind of like where night terrors are tied into that too, correct?
Yeah, it seems like it's usually nightmares. And I was given an example that I had a nightmare and I was being chased and I woke up running through my house. And that's the only time it's ever happened to me. And I don't know why that was. And I was 20 years old. So it was a long time ago. But that's a warning sign. I mean, maybe if it happens once or twice or every so often, it's no big deal. But if it's happening consistently, then you definitely want to go to a doctor and find out why, because it could be very dangerous if you walk out onto a street or something. So that's definitely a medical condition.
Oh yeah, that's where it goes to another level there.
Mhm.
And now, as far as what do you think's going on though with night terrors, where people, I mean, it's like they're acting out their night. Have you ever seen somebody have one? I remember growing up as a kid, I had a friend that he would have these night terrors, and we were told, "Don't wake him up, don't wake him up." But
Yeah.
I mean, he would be screaming bloody murder. It's terrifying to see somebody go through that.
Yeah, it's definitely that. It's like they can't wake up. They're stuck in that nightmare. And usually it happens with children because as you get older, you start to become aware, you see things that are fearful in a different way, but it happens with children a lot. I saw it happen to my son one time when he was little, and it took like 30 minutes for him to come out of it. And you can't wake them up. That's kind of common with children. That's not good either. Basically, in my opinion, a parent should sit down with their kid, ask them what they were dreaming about, work through the dream, like as a dream analysis, what's going on in their life that's so stressful or traumatizing, because there could be something that you're unaware of, could be medical conditions. My son had a brain tumor. So I don't want to freak everybody out, but I mean, you got to pursue it. Don't just be like, oh, it's night terrors, it's just a nightmare. Like kind of do a little bit of research into why this is happening,
Now, I do want to touch it because, we have talked, for the most part, besides that interruption there, the power here, but you are a believer of the paranormal of this type of world, correct?
Yes.
And so what do you think is the connection between maybe, another dimension or past lives, or even some of the UFO phenomenon, with dreaming? What do you think are some of the connections there?
Well, I mean, the collective consciousness, I think that's Carl Jung talks about that it's a collective unconscious and that we all pull from that area. That's where we're getting our dream symbols, our information and stuff. I also like the idea of extraterrestrials. They've put us here for whatever reason, and they're here, they're guiding us, or some of us that'll listen, they're guiding us and visiting us in dreams, because that is a more delicate way, I think, to interact with somebody when they're physically in your room. I don't know what that means and why they physically need to be there, but with the dreams, it's more like a telepathic. They're just giving you information. And then as far as like spirits and stuff, spirits of people who've passed away, I think sometimes that, I don't know if it's just like because of that collective unconscious, if they're also part of that and are able to communicate that way, or if it's just things we don't understand about the spirit world where they're able to connect. But it really, from all the people that I've talked to in my own experiences, I feel like there's definitely something going on there beyond just, the brain, firing.
And you've done this for how many years now, Deedee? This is, I mean, as far as the professional side of it, what you're doing. So you've heard a lot of stories.
Yeah, I have. I've been doing it professionally just for 2 years. But I've been doing it for over 30 years. I realized the other day that it was closer to 40 years.
Wow.
So
40 years of hearing dreams, stories,
yeah.
These things.
And
And now you seem like you said, when you were 18, you started doing this. So you've always kind of been open-minded. But I mean, is there anything more convincing now after all this time and all the stories that you've heard that convince you of this other spirit realm, the paranormal, and the power of dreaming? I mean, there's nothing, I couldn't imagine, you know, being convinced that this, you know, there's something more out there than what this everyday reality that we walk around and bump into?
I think for me, it's been my dream experiments. I've done 6 of them now, and there's things that I can't explain how people are getting this information, especially the one with the doll that, you know, there's no way. How did 2 people seem to astral project into my house? Explain to me how things are when like I said, I've never shown my home publicly. So there's no way they could even get that, like maybe have seen a video of it. It's just not there. So for me, the dream experiments are what really just baffles my mind. Like I want to get out and do the chart, you know, like the chart with all the red lines and stuff and people's photos. I feel like I need to make one of those because it's amazing and people connect to each other.
How often do you do those?
I've been doing them I do them like maybe one every other month. I started doing them with Danny, my co-host on The Awakening. We started doing them together. And we just did one recently where we had people, I curated a box and I mailed it to her and she set it up in a haunted hotel. And people had to either dream or try to psychically read what was in the box. And a lot of people got hits on it. So it was like and I was the only one who was in it. She didn't even know it was in it. And then she was reading tarot cards that was telling her that she wasn't going to be able to figure out what was in it. So it was really interesting.
Now, are these like psychics and mediums, the people that are doing this, or is this just normal everyday people participating in this experiment?
Both. It's both, which I kind of like the combination because I like the purity of somebody who doesn't normally do that kind of stuff, and to see them get information, and the psychics kind of come in and they get a little bit more, and it's really cool. It's interesting.
I mean, that seems like something I mean would be really fun. If somebody wanted to participate in that, how do they go about it to contact you to do one of those experiments?
Yeah, if you go to either my YouTube channel, my Facebook page, The Awakening, the Dreams Interpreter, you could just email me at the info@thedreamsinterpreter.com and say that you want to participate in a dream study. Then I can just add you to a list and email you, you know, when they're coming up, and then you can find me on social media. Because I'll probably do another one. I have a couple of ideas of some stuff I want to do. So I'll probably do one in the next month or 2.
Now that's cool. Now, also, is there like, do you have any books or any information out like that out? I know a lot of people sometimes have some products and stuff they'd like to talk about. Do you have anything like that?
I don't have a book, but I do dream interpretations. And I have 2 forms. I can do a dream interpretation for you where I just do all the work, or I have another one where it's dream coaching, and we'll sit down with your dream and you're going to interpret it while I help you. So it kind of teaches you how to interpret your own dreams, and we're going to do it together. So either way, and that's thedreamsinterpreter.com for more information on that.
That is awesome. And that's, you know, and that's very helpful. Well, just like you talked about how it helped you kind of figure out, you can make better life choices and decisions by doing that. So, So much we can get out of interpreting our dreams, folks.
Yes.
But these dream experiences, I got to be honest, that sounds awesome. And I follow you on Facebook, and you post some really interesting stuff. And but you said they could just email you and what was the email again? One more time, Deedee?
It's info@thedreamsinterpreter.com. If you go to if you just type in Dream Interpretations by Deedee Jebrail, you'll be able to find me. But the link tree is thedreamsinterpreter.com. And I do meditation videos also for dreaming, like ones that help with nightmares. I'm doing one with abundance and money. Setting dream intentions. So there's meditations up there that you can watch as well that help you like get into a good sleep mode.
Awesome. That is so. And also we want to, and the podcast, you said it's Awakening, and that's streaming pretty much everywhere, right? We can catch that on YouTube and other places.
Yeah. So The Awakening, it's The Awakening, like -tarot or -dream -tarot. And then you can find that on my link tree as well. And we're on every other Sunday. So we were just on this past Sunday. And if you want to watch dream experiments, you can see those on my YouTube or The Awakening, and kind of see what we've done in the past and see how it went.
Awesome. Well, Deedee, I want to say this. You have been a fantastic guest, very interesting. And I apologize for the technical difficulties. I think it's these darn squirrels. I don't know what's going on. But I'm glad we could get on here and save the day. But Deedee, I would love to have you back on the Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, but thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. This is it for Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. It has been an interesting episode. Deedee is very interesting. Be sure to go check her out, the Awakening podcast. And if you want your dreams interpreted or even be a part of experiment, be sure to reach out to Deedee Jebrail. She's very, very talented at what she does. Guys, like I said, I apologize for the technical difficulties. The power went out, but I think, this phone kind of saved the day for us. Good old Bluetooth in the phone. If you guys have not done so, get over to the experiencersupport.org. Check out Ryan Stacy's article on the cybersecurity battle going on with MUFON, an update on that. Check us out on Patreon at Heed the World. Give us a little small donation. Check me out at Super Magic Boy on Instagram and Danny Whitson Magic and Comedy. Guys, we are broadcasting live from the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. This is Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, guys, and I'm your host, Danny Whitson, and I will see y'all next time. All right, that does it for this episode of Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. A big shout out for tonight's awesome guest, and a bigger shout out for everyone who tuned in. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever it is you listen to your podcasts. And like always, be sure to stay curious, heed the world, and keep the paranormal normal. I'm your host, Danny Whitson, and this has been Beyond the Tinfoil Hat.